Let's start our discussion about layout by creating a new project in Android Studio. I press New Project and then select Empty Compose Activity. I press Next, and since we are going to talk about layout, let's call our application Compose Layouts. And the package name, I don't change the package name and save location. Language is Kotlin and minimum SDK is 21. I press finish and wait for the project to be created. Fine, our project has been created. First, I remove the default preview and composables that have been created, and then we will create our own composables. So I remove these two composables from the main activity, and also I remove everything that has been placed inside set content because we will set our own content. And now let's create a composable. I use the live templates again, comp, and press enter to create an empty composable. I name it, for example, item screen. Let's imagine that we are creating a very simple UI that shows an item like a shopping item or a shopping cart, and then below it we have a text view or a text field that shows the number of those items selected by the user, and then below them we have two buttons that allows us to increase or decrease the number of those items. Let's see that in action. First, I create a box to represent something like the image of that shopping item. So I create a box and I give it a size using modifiers. Modifier dot fill max width. I fill the maximum available width for the box, and also I'm going to give it a background. So I continue the modifier chain and I give it a background with a color like, for example, magenta. Let's close this get notification. Let's also give it a height. I give it a height of, for example, 300 depth. I import depth, and in order to have a preview as we are developing this, let's also create a preview that previews this composable. So I create a preview here by typing prev and then pressing enter. I call it preview item screen, and then inside this preview composable I do a call to item screen. Let's close the left pane for the project explorer so that we have more space, and then from this section I select split so that I have a preview for the UI that I am designing. This needs a successful build, so I press build or make project from the toolbar by pressing the hammer icon. Okay, we continue designing the UI. In addition to that box that represents the shopping item or the image of it, we also have a text field. So I'm going to use a simple text field from the material package. It is called outlined text field. It has a value and an onValue change parameter. We are not going to do a full-fledged outline text field. We just want to have this UI in our preview. And then for its value, I enter, for example, 0, the default value that is supposed to be shown in our outlined text field. In addition to the text field, we also have two buttons. As I said before, we have two buttons, so I create my buttons using the button composable from the material package again. So button, I import button. The first parameter is onClick. I give it an empty lambda because it's not supposed to do anything right now, and it also needs a text. So the text that is supposed to be shown on top of the button needs to come in its body. So I give it a body and text. I call it increase, for example. This button is supposed to show this label, and another button for decrease. Again, onClick doesn't do anything, so an empty lambda is passed to it, and the body has a text or label that shows decrease. All right, let's see what we have so far. What happens if we get the preview of this? On the right side of the screen, I press refresh. We wait for the preview to appear. Maybe the preview is already there. I press zoom to fit screen. No, we need to do another refresh. Okay, as you can see, we don't have the UI that we had planned for. We were supposed to have a box on the top or the image of our shopping item, and below that to have a text field, and below the text field we were supposed to have our buttons, but currently everything is stuck on top of one another. This is not what we hoped for. What we wanted is an order and a good layout and the arrangement, at least for the views to follow each other on the screen. In order to fix this, we will need the layout capabilities of Jetpack Compose. The first thing that can help us deal with is a layout called column. If I put all the composables that I have here, including box, outlined text field, and the two buttons inside another composable called column, I will have a better view for this preview. So I select all these sections from the box to the end of the button and then press Alt and Enter and select Surround with Widget and then select Column. I want to surround all these composables with another container or with another layout called column. Okay, let's refresh it and see the effect of this change. Okay, better. Now we have a better preview for our items for the UI. As you can see, now the composables that we had are following each other on the screen in a columnar manner. They are placed and arranged on a column. In addition to layouts, we can also use modifier capabilities to give a better arrangement to our UI items in Jetpack Compose. For example, for our single items, we can give also padding to add a space from their starting position to their content. So for these buttons, for example, I add a modifier that padding, and I give it a padding of 4 depth, for example. I do the same for the other button. And also for our text field. So I add a modifier parameter for that as well. Okay, let's do a refresh. There we go. Now the paddings that we added give a better appearance to our composables. The next thing we might want to do for our composables in this UI is to arrange them in a central manner so that when we look at the views in the horizontal orientation, they are placed almost in the center. So these buttons should be placed at the center when we look horizontally, and the text field as well should be placed horizontally at the center. So how can we do that? By adding a modifier to our column. And I go to my column, I open a parentheses for it, and then inside it, as you can see, we have horizontal alignment. So one of the parameters that it has is horizontal alignment. I specify it, and for its value we should pass in something from the type alignment.horizontal. Since I want to align it at the center horizontally, I specify alignment.center horizontally. I import alignment by pressing Alt and Enter. And now all the items in our column should be placed at the center horizontally. Let's do a refresh. There we go. Now our items are placed at the center. That's it for this video. In the next video, I will talk about another layout called row that helps us have even more control on the arrangement and positioning of the items in our Jetpack Compose UI.